Hello, folks.
Hi there.
So it's another episode of Würfelcast, episode 69. Uh, the topic of the day is top 10 board games with abs. Not abs, apps.
Well, I mean, they might, although that's not the kind of game I usually play.
Oh, that'd be a cool idea. Uh,
It would end up
muscular
being a
board games?
minis game, I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah. That would be the one. Miniature gaming. Anyway, here we are, and we're just gonna start with the recent plays as usual. No side talk. Uh, let's just go.
Okay, wow.
I know.
Am I
I
starting the recent plays?
yes. I've learned.
Okay, so my recent play is a game that I have been playing a ton of lately, and that's good because the game weighs a ton, and that game is Oathsworn.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another large Kickstarter game with tons of minis. Uh, it's it's an interesting game though because a couple of things are going on. Each game session you play has two distinct phases. There's going to be a story phase, which takes roughly half an hour, and you're going to play through some story. You're making some choices. Now, the end of the story is always the same. You always end up fighting some sort of beast. You know that's going to be happening. That's not a surprise. And it's known also which it's sort of predetermined which beast you are going to be fighting. But the way that the fight begins might be different, and the other things that happen along the way may come up later in future play sessions because, of course, it's a campaign game. Because why not? Um, but so the story does definitely matter. But it's not like, okay, I might fight a zombie versus I might fight a vampire. It's going to be what it is. And so after you've made it through the story, at some point, the game will say, all right, set up the encounter. And then you go to another box or two. So the game comes with one box of kind of game components and then two boxes of minis. In separate boxes where you can sort of find them. So it says, okay, for this fight, you open box one and the box with the triangle on it, and set up and then you go to a separate encounter book and it tells you how to set it up. And then you hit play and you go. And so you're going through. You have to defeat some sort of monster or challenge. And so far, all of them have been fairly different, right? The first one is on the cover, so it's not a surprise. It's a gigantic rat, and it's spawning baby rats. And then,
Mm.
there's another one where you might fight some bandits, and they're small and they move around quickly. Or there was a giant fly, and it was zooming all across the board and implanting people with its larvae, which would then explode into more flies. So I mean, there's different rules for how each of these different monsters will operate, and you have a team of four heroes. It's always four, which is not my favorite thing, but at least there's a giant worm too, and so you've got a team of four heroes that you're going with, and you're trying to beat this monster. And you've got this system where you've got this it's called animus, which sounds really adverse. But those little amber crystals that are on that board you see there, they go into an area, and you can spend them to do different actions. And then if you don't want to, if you're playing alone, you can have sort of easier versions of the other three characters, which makes it a little bit easier to control without quite so many cards and choices going on. But you can kind of customize that how you want. You beat the monster and you win. You don't beat the monster and you lose. And there you can see that's kind of interesting, right? It was the box, two of the three Oathsworn boxes. There are three boxes that are the same size, all next to Gloomhaven. So it's three Gloomhaven size boxes. And there's really no way to consolidate if you want to keep things organized. So that's kind of a negative. But I am enjoying the game. I have found that I like to see how everything is a little bit different. Now, I did not get those trees. Those trees were an optional thing, but they're kind of obnoxious. Um, and another thing I did not get, but might eventually buy later, is that you can get like the minis. You can change out the weapons that they're holding to reflect the weapons that they're using. It's sort of a cosmetic thing more than an actual functional gameplay item, but it might be fun to see that, but it also might be a lot of work and a pain in the neck. Who knows? Anyway, I've been playing it a lot. Each game will take a long time because you've got to go through that story and you've got to go through the fight. Now you're not supposed to skip the story, but you can. The game allows you to do so. It's not like you're going to explode if you just play the story. There's a quick setup you can read through and sort of get yourself there if you want. Or I don't think anybody will come to your house and take the game away if you just set up the scenario and play it. But I found it enjoyable. It's not a perfect game by any means, and some of the rules are a little muddy, but I've kind of found my way through it. I've enjoyed the different characters, and I've enjoyed the story. So there you go.
Yeah, this is the real one. We said the board game with abs. Oh, what are you doing?
Yes. Nothing. I'm putting this light up.
Oh, nothing wrong. The ring of power there. That's fine.
Well,
yeah. So yeah, not my style of game. Not the one I will buy ever. I think the one that I might try if the situation is right. Let's say I'm coming to your house. Let's play this game. You have it set up already. Let's go through it. Maybe. Then
I have to do
might
all
try.
that work just so
Yes.
you will play my game with me. Got it.
Yes. Got it. Good. Anyway, yeah, okay. Host form. Gloomhaven in a box, something like that.
Well, I mean,
Kind of a seems to be.
you know what Gloomhaven in a box is? It's Gloomhaven.
Oh yeah. Jaws the line. Okay. Anyway, my pick for today for recent plays is a tiny, small game made by Estonian designers that I talked about a long time ago. So quite a long time ago, I got the original copy, the full production copy, and I don't know, I just didn't play it. I wanted to play the finished product, and then I don't know, just so many games out there. You can never play everything. And so I recently played it again with one of my new game friends, and this is Lunar Base.
Oh,
And
I've played that game.
you play the game too, yeah. So there's not much to say about it. It's really easy going. Let's say an engine building game, but in a sense of very light and fast engine building game, because the game can end in an instant when you get one of the three end game conditions.
4 end game conditions, my friend.
Yes. I think four if you put the influence cards, which is an advanced play. But I mean, like, just play with the influence cards. Yeah. It's 3 when you play the very basic one, and we play the very basic one just to remember the game. So yeah, that's fine. I really like the idea of this one, where you have to connect the cards, and the circles that connect the cards, they become a discount to your other cards, etc. And they have different actions and things, and there are those action cards that you play that you don't put into your base. You can flip things. It's back and forth. Yeah. You're trying to manipulate somebody's others currency, and station, and flip their cards and flip your cards so that you have the better way, etc. Yeah, overly aesthetically, it's clear, it's clean, which I like. There's not much art in the game, but yeah, I'm looking forward to whatever can expand this game into this. This is a kind of a medium to lightweight game, I want it to be like medium or medium to heavy card game. Of course, the box
I
is
don't.
small. That's the whole premise. You take it
Say.
somewhere, you play it. Yeah, yeah. But something
I
an
don't know. There's a lot
expansion
of
that
room for expansion.
yeah, I mean like a bigger box or whatever. So you could like have an expansion with a medium to heavyweight card game. So you can have an option. You want the lighter game, get the base box. You want the heavier game, get the base box. With this one, something extra is missing for me as time goes by. As I've played quite a few new games with cards, card games, etc. For example, if I know this is different, but when I play Imperium Classics and then I play this one feels like extremely light in a sense, like there's not enough already, you know, like just this kind of a card game comparison.
Okay.
But overall, I do enjoy this idea of connecting things and creating discounts and stuff. And by the way, as you can see here, they were cheating because you cannot connect circles of different colors, as I remember. Uh,
Oh, the gray ones are wild though, aren't they?
yeah, the gray ones are fine, but you cannot connect the half
Oh,
of a blue with half
yeah,
of a yellow. At least what I remember.
that's
Maybe I
true.
read
You
it wrong.
cannot do that.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the expansion rule.
uh, maybe. Anyway, Lunar Base,
I
go
was
try it out. Yeah.
I was surprised by this one. I expected it to be not much. The rules are there's a lot. The rule book is not the best organized, and
Mhm.
I was. It took me a while to get this one out, just because I was like, ugh, I don't want to deal with it, because the rule book, lots of the information is kind of in the middle,
Yeah.
and you kind of have to dig it out. And there's some things that would have been helpful that were, to be on a separate sheet. So it took me a while to get it to the table, but I was surprisingly impressed by it. So yeah, I hate shuffling the cards. They're not a shape that is easy to shuffle. But
Yeah.
I've
True.
I've I've enjoyed my plays of the game, and I like that there are the four ending conditions, which mean that you never really know. I mean, somebody might have 17 of the money, and you think there's nothing I can do, but then you're like, oh well, I happen to have a 10th little blue person on my cards, and so yes, if I do this sequence of things, I'm able to win the game. I kind of like that. It's much shorter than I
Hmm.
think anybody's ever expecting, which is also nice because you can play it twice or get to something else.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's from Sony designers, which is
Ah,
a rather rare case. We do have these different designers, but I mean, like, I think this game is something of a contemporary design in comparison
so
with so many others that are just children games or so basic and so uninnovative. You know,
fair enough.
yeah, don't care. This one is good.
Yep.
All right, let's get to the next topic, which is crowdfunding. And so, Kyle, why don't you start and tell me? Do I need to go to Kickstarter or?
Yeah, we'll go to Kickstarter this time.
All right, all right,
So, I always tell myself I'm not going to order any more large minis games,
true,
because they take up too much space
true.
and nobody ever wants to play them with me.
Mm,
And so today we're talking about a large minis game, and
mm.
it's called Barbaric. Um, and
What?
this one caught my eye mostly because I'm going to Thailand in a couple of months, and this
To
looks like
a
it's
barbaric?
bison barbaric. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, the
Yeah, that's the
hexes.
one, the
Yeah,
first one there.
hexagons. Yeah. Right.
It's I think it's a I think it's a Thai company, and so that's kind of what caught my eye, just because that's where I'm going. I see it's in Singapore dollars, but I think the company's based in Thailand. Anyway, it looks like a large minis game, uh, and some of the characters look to be really interesting. There was a hippo with a chain gun and a giant rubber ducky, and it looks like the kind of game where you spend your actions and move around a board and upgrade yourself
And
and
blah blah
then
blah.
fight with some monsters. Yeah, it's your
True.
standard fare. I'm still looking for the perfect one of these, and
Okay.
I haven't found it yet. But it looks like it's at least well produced. It has characters that you would not find in every other game, which is always nice. It looks like something I can trick Victor into painting for me. Um, not trick, ask him to. It looks like it's about the right length, 40 to 90 minutes, especially if it's, right on that, if it's on the lower half of that, it'll be a perfect length. I don't know. It's cooperative, so I can play it by myself if nobody wants to play it with me, which is always a problem with these games. But
Well, look, it says Barbaric After Apocalypse is a free for all game. Oh, is it free? You don't need
yeah,
to
I tell
pledge?
it's not free. It's $400. Um,
Oh, they lied. They lied. They're not getting my money.
well, I don't know if they were going to get your money anyway. But after telling
True.
myself I wasn't going to buy it, I have now pledged for this one
Like that.
because I just can't help myself. I make bad choices. I don't know. I'm hoping it's amazing. I guess we'll see.
Ooh, Into the Lost Jungle. Okay. So it's
Yeah,
core box 1, core box 2, core box 10. Like all.
there's 2 core boxes and then there's a bunch of expansion boxes.
Oh, I see.
And I guess there's different missions and scenarios in
Ooh,
each. It's probably one of those things where if you only got one, you would be fine with it.
I like that one.
But I know that if I only got one, I would be thinking, but what about all of the other ones? Um, so, I mean, there's monsters that you're fighting. I don't know. I don't know that there's
Yes.
anything other than the different characters about this currently that's calling me and saying, you must buy this. But
I
I'm
don't like the
hoping that
map.
it's amazing.
It's
Well,
not.
the map, I mean, who knows? It might go
Maybe it's
through some
functional.
changes.
It's like
Well, and it's
Hiroshima X.
also,
It's not beautiful.
well, okay, there's nothing about Hiroshima Hex that's beautiful. Um, so,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, it's,
slides together. Okay.
yeah, because
Ooh.
you have a writer and
Ooh.
and that kind of looked fun, right? You have a
Yeah.
writer and a character, and you're kind of combining
Hmm.
them. And I guess, Voltron style there. Um,
Okay.
so I'm sure once you put them in there, they won't come out again easily. That's the problem with these kinds of things. But hey, we will see. I am hopeful that this is fantastic. And if it's merely okay, well, then it'll join a huge pile of other merely okay large minis games that I have. But hey, we don't see a whole lot of Thai game designers, or Thai
Yeah.
game publishers. So
Uh,
here's one.
yeah. It's graphically and production wise, good looking game. If you have $120 laying around just to get the very base of the things, or if you want to
Keep
spend
going.
$300 to
Keep
get a
going.
gameplay set. Okay.
Keep going. There you go. No, go back up, back up. You missed it. There you go. That's the one you need.
Okay. Okay.
You
But I mean,
wouldn't
you
want to
can
leave
get
anything on
just
the
one
table.
core box. I'm sure it's going to be enough. $120. Oh, come on. Anyway, let's get to my pick. It's also on Kickstarter. That's called Kinfire. We haven't seen that one.
Oh,
It says a storage quick start adventure board game for 1 to 4 players from the makers of Descent, Witcher, Arcane, League of Legends. Okay, so I don't know if like some of the designers are the video game designers as well. And
well,
oh,
didn't Kevin Wilson also do Aeon's End, or am I thinking of somebody else?
I see. It's new game studio. Okay. Oh, it's like video game designers and the board game designers. Okay, okay. I don't know. Anyway, it's their new one, and
No, I'm wrong.
I don't know
It's someone else.
about Kevin Wilson, but this is a cooperative game with this kind of a story mode, and as I understood, the story cards where you make some choices, and it says start playing in just 15 minutes, something like that. Like you just take it out, you set it up, and you have this kind of a quick start thing going on, which I appreciate in these kinds of games where I don't have to read all the rules all the way through. I can just do the quick start rule, and start playing and then see what happens. The very first game. It says over 1,090 cards, and I like the art. I like the kind of interesting fantasy approach. It's not your usual thing, though it's kind of easy. Uh, but you're fighting monsters. I don't know, whatever you're going through the boards, RPG like things going on most likely, and you can support other players. It's fully cooperative. So yeah, I cannot really. I don't really understand the game itself. I watched the video. I watched this one.
Because you haven't played it yet.
Yeah. I mean, like, yes, but from this one, I really like how this one says you can have maybe it wasn't the video, like the story cards where you have the choices, like in Robinson Crusoe, which I really liked in Robinson Crusoe. And yeah, this one is it's $50 off. MSRP is going to be $150. It's $100.
Okay.
Shipping and taxes not included. Will be charged separately. So plus a ton more.
They'll add that $50 back in really quickly.
Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah, this one's come up as an ad for me a few times, and I've so far not successfully avoided clicking on it. But we'll see.
I mean, I would play it. I'm not sure if I want to back it, just because with such story games, there is some, there is that danger that it's not going to be a cool game. It's not going to be enough, or the story isn't great, narrative isn't great, etc. It might be great. I don't know.
Or worse, you have to play several sets of the game, of 10 or 15 times to get all of the story content out. So, who knows? I mean,
I'm fine with that if there's that.
Things. You don't have quite as many of those as I do.
Yeah, I don't have as many. So, but yeah, it might be this kind of a time investment. I'm not sure if I'm into that. Plus, it says estimated delivery August 2023, which is August 2024. I'm going to translate that for you.
Oh, no. It says 2023. It's going to be 2023.
Sure. And that's 100% sure. It's never late, at least 1 year. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not. I got one yesterday that I backed like 2 months ago.
I think it was already ready, and they just
used
the pre-order thing. Yeah, because the factory is shutting down right now, yet again, due to a certain virus thing. But yeah, the other thing, I don't want to back something I have to wait for 1+ years. I'm so tired of that, and I don't back as much. Like, you back a lot. And you might forget that you backed this one, and it comes up into the door, and you buy games constantly. For me, if I back it, then I'm thinking about it. Then it's a project for me. It's something I invested money in, and it's Then I kind of wait for it. Then it's late. Then there's those problems with the minis were not sculpted well, then we have to knock it back 6 months, the schedule, and blah blah blah. All these things
never happen. Where's all this cynicism coming from?
Like, they never learn. I mean, like the factories never learn. Publishers never learn how to estimate things. It's just weird. It seems like they want to get thing out and get the money, because otherwise they might go bankrupt, etc. So that's why companies use Kickstarter, really, because they need money fast, and not only because they don't have money to print that. For example, some companies do the Kickstarter and then the second project and the third project in order to get the money circling. So that's how it does. Anyway, yeah, that's why I stopped. But I'm interested in this one. When it comes out, I'm gonna check it out if I can. Surely I can. All right. Let's get back to Board Game Geek and to the next topic.
Confrontational.
Confrontational. versus the world. This topic is more like the other two were quite straightforward. Crowdfunding, recent plays versus the world. We're not versus the world, and we're not talking about the RuPaul's Drag Race UK versus the world.
Oh, pretty
It's
good. That one was fun. Um,
very board game related. Um, yeah, this topic is about our favorite games that some people really dislike, and then they comment on that on BGG and put a rating of 1 or 2. We're mostly looking at ratings 1 or 2.
sure.
It's a if it's a 3, then there was something they liked. Yeah. Like I want to get to people that really dislike the game, and we're gonna try to kind of counter that with our arguments about why you might still like this game.
Sure.
Why for you
Let's
this is
go.
great. What's your pick?
All right. I'm going to be talking this week about Twilight Struggle. Now, Twilight Struggle is a game that I rate a 10 out of 10. One of my favorite games of all time. A fantastic experience, a great historical theme. And I think it's one of the most tense and engaging playing experiences one can have. Let's see what others think about this. Now, of
Yeah,
course, lots
so
of people just rate a number rating and don't put any comment into it. So we kind of have to work. Let's. I guess the first one I see.
I mean, look, I can do
Uh,
this thing here. That does have comments. I thought that there's a
okay.
filter.
Well, that's okay. We can just look at a few of these. The first one I'm seeing, it says boring and soulless trash pretending to be a war game.
That's what I wrote. I don't know. Yeah.
I think this was from a sort of large, awful looking war game fan. Not the fan. The fan isn't awful looking. The war games usually are. And look, Twilight Struggle is not a looker. But so this is not your traditional war game. Absolutely not. But also the Cold War is not your traditional war. And so that's sort of what I would say to that. Twilight Struggle is a much more subtle game. And if you approach it like a guns a-blazing, run in and try and stomp people game, it just doesn't even have the mechanisms for that. So, all right. The next one I see says, didn't work in our round and it is not pretty. Sounds like this person played one time. The game has a lot of learning. Yeah. So is not pretty. I'm going to say, yep, you're correct. You win on that one. But, I think this is a game that definitely you can't judge by your first play, especially because the rule books are not written for people who want to learn to play the game. It's definitely a game to be taught and not to learn. So if you try it again, maybe you'll like it. Then we have a fun one. Let's see. Hisprick game, which is not historic. In facts, U.S. propaganda games, history view by the School of Chicago think tank, very slow and boring, awful graphics, luck everywhere. Don't know how could it be so high in BGG rating. Avoid waste of money. Well, you should definitely avoid wasting money. I think even the Chicago think tank will tell you that. But I'm not quite sure what's going on here. I'm assuming that this person thinks that the game is not historic because it has U.S. propaganda in it. I don't know that it has U.S. propaganda. I think the game largely is historic. It takes actual events that happened and sort of tries to incorporate them into some effect in the game. I mean, I don't think that you could claim that Tito was U.S. propaganda, or well, I guess you could claim whatever you like. So there is a little bit of luck, right? And that's what we're going to see in the next comment, which is probably the last one we'll have time for. But but I'll kind of mention it now. I mean, the game does have some luck, but it's all stuff that you can control by thinking about how things are going to play out and work. So, all right, let's move on to the biggest comment, I think, here. Twilight Struggle is painful. Absolutely agree. Memorizing the eyesore of a deck seems necessary for optimal play because certain cards can just arbitrarily blindside you. Also correct. Shame on you if you are ignorant enough of history to add U.S. influence to Cuba before Fidel is played.
Yeah. Blah
Fair
blah blah
enough.
blah.
Um, but Romanian abdication, De Gaulle leads France, Allende, Ortega, Sadat, etc. How many average players would know not to waste influence there? A long, complex game that takes repeated plays to learn what is coming, and what you should do is poor design. Twilight Struggle reveals its own shoddy design the more you play. I have played this game
Okay.
dozens of times, and bad luck, especially early on, is a nail in the coffin. A game can become nearly hopeless as early as turn 2 or 3 for the USA player. A good strategy shouldn't have this much dice chucking. Furthermore, many hands play themselves because there is one optimal course of play. This is the dullest Candyland variant I've ever played. I changed my rating
Ooh.
from a 2 to a 1 after playing as USA and having a Soviet player eliminated all 7 influence that I placed in Western Europe by realignment rolling before I even took my first turn. This game is broken. So, a couple of things here. Definitely, the game is one that you will have to play multiple times before you can feel really good at it. You don't have to memorize the deck, but you do have to memorize a couple of key points. Now, I will say, so the way the game works, right? You're going to play cards, and they will
Mhm.
often remove your opponent's influence or change the board state a little bit. The key to it, though, is that's a core mechanism of the game, because once those cards are played, they are removed permanently from the deck. And so they don't come back in the reshuffle. And so by playing the cards for their events, you can, first of all, control when the event is going to happen. And also, you can get your opponent's cards out of the deck so that on the reshuffle, your opponent has more of your cards that they have to play to give you the bonuses. It's sort of a second step of understanding how the game is going to work. Yes, right? I mean,
Mhm.
Sadat takes the U.S. influence, or Nasser takes the U.S. influence out of Egypt, and Sadat puts it back. But knowing that those are possibilities will sort of influence the timing of your forays into Egypt. You can take the risk, right? I mean, if I have the card that kicks you out of Egypt, but I want something else more because I know that something else is coming that I need, I won't play it for that event. Playing the cards for their events is usually suboptimal. So, and then rolling your dice, you roll dice at 2 points in the game, and well, 3 points, but and those are often, they're riskier turns, and there's always a safer method you can take if you would prefer to. If you want to go big or go home, roll the dice and see what happens. But there's more subtle ways to influence and change things. So I think, this person's played it enough to understand a lot. But I do think that, maybe this just isn't that person's style. Twilight Struggle is a game that you really have to want so the box and the graphic design and the rules are barriers to entry, and you really have to want to play it. You have to be able to overcome those 3 barriers before you can even play. It's basically saying, hey, keep away. If you want to play me.
Yeah.
If I'm for you. And it sounds like it wasn't for this person, and this person may have disregarded some of those barriers to entry.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't played this one, so I cannot really comment on that. I mean, graphics wise, sure,
Oh, it's
definitely.
hideous. The game is look. If you say it's ugly, I will agree with you. It definitely is.
Look at that.
Uh,
Who wants to play
well,
that?
so the board even
Even.
has like a coffee stain on it. I mean, it's like it's
Oh yeah.
it's definitely a game that is not going uh
Ooh.
for
Mm.
it's not going to be in a beauty pageant.
Looker.
I'll say it like that.
The board game with
No,
abs.
that's the new redesigned board.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was from the
Uh,
deluxe 5th edition.
all right. Anyway, let's get to my pick here. So I picked my one of my near and dear to my heart, and the one that was in my top one time. Please, Kiklades, whatever you want to name it. That's the first
Okay.
negative. You don't know how to name it. But let's get to let's get to some ratings and see if we have some comments here as well. This one is really long, and this is the only
Whoa!
comment. Yeah, this is the only comment. So, but maybe let's just let's just go through that one comment really fast. So it says it's a collective king making. So I can see people think about Cyclades, Cyclades, I say Cyclades, to be a king making game because your choices influence the board really, pretty much. It's because what you choose is something the other person didn't get. Yeah, all the gods that you beat on, uh, especially the Ares or Poseidon, which are very powerful gods that give you the opportunity to move or to build up the routes in the sea if you're playing the original Cyclades, not the Titans, etc. I can see how every move is influencing somebody else, which I would not say it's a king making. Um, there can be some turns which like the third person's decision can really influence who's going to win. But that's how it is. That's how you set yourself up to that moment. All the other players as well. Everybody's influencing everybody. If this is the king making the game, then every game is a king making the game in a sense. All right, uh, uh, so there's a game state where players influence their opponent's board position so pervasively that victory is
Okay.
achieved by the player who the group implicitly allows to win rather than the player who makes the best decisions. That's where I don't agree. It's how you make the decisions, how you make the other players influence you in a good way. There is strategy out there. I've played it quite much to understand that. Okay. If is nothing sacred, okay, let's examine Cyclades to see just how much of a player's options and infrastructure are freely available for his opponents to disrupt. Physical territory and gourds can be conquered. Boats, buildings, and troops can be destroyed. Money, priests, and philosophers can be stolen. A desired deity can be what's the word? Usurped.
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 Yeah.
Usurped with no possibility for the player to overbid. This includes turn order because the mechanic, I would say mechanism, is entwined with the role selection. Yeah. What's wrong with that? Yeah, you can do all of that. Yeah, that's good. I don't understand. Okay. I don't understand what's the thing here. Anyway, it turns out the aforementioned elements comprise Cyclades in its entirety, meaning each of your opponents can deduce your best course of action and intentionally toward at you at every junction if they so desire. Okay, so don't play confrontational games because that's how the confrontational area control mini games, etc. You go with Kemet, you go with anything else. All your moves are about destroying other people and making yourself happy. And yes, it's true that you can influence other players a ton, but you are also very limited to the god that you have. I mean, like the boats can be destroyed, things can be done this way, that way. If you are smart enough, you get enough money during the right turn, you get the right god, you can do that. If you get a Athena, where you just get a philosopher and you don't have enough money to maybe circulate the monsters on the monster track and get the right monster in order to attack somebody, then not. And most monsters, what they are, they're rather defensive. They're not like even with the monsters, you put them down, they either are something stationary that, for example, the giant pushes away the ships and the Medusa freezes the troops. It doesn't destroy things. And if it pushes away and some ships are destroyed, this is a coincidence where that other player has put the ships in the way where they have no uh, means to kind of move them back. That's their problem. Everything that we create in this game is our own problem that we create. Of course, there's a lot of manipulation from others, but it's not like everybody uses every god every turn. This one seems to be like he's, or they are talking about like you could do anything on your turn. No, you cannot. It depends on your god. Sometimes you do less, sometimes do more.
Right.
I don't understand that. Okay, so I'm okay. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so the alleged balancing factor here is self-preservation. It's not directly in anybody's interest to shaft an opponent. Okay. Consider deliberately overbidding on a deity. You pay more than the deity is worth. Your opponent gets an inferior action. Your other two opponents rejoice because they just spent nothing, and so two of their opponent's position worsen. That's how you manipulate the bidding. This is the auction, the bidding things. This is bluffing there. There's anything else. You can always do something with the god. Just be strategic about that. So yeah. And yeah, sometimes you overbid in order for them not to get this one, because you benefit from that as well. They might attack you, for example. So blah, blah, blah. Of course, the action is necessitated if that opponent is on the precipice of victory, and the only resource is shaft the leader. I don't know. Cycle these drags until its specific victory condition is met, and the end game is reduced to shaft the leaders until nobody can or is willing. I don't know. It's every confrontation game yet again. It's not about that.
This person just does not enjoy this type of game, and and probably, that's okay. There are people who don't enjoy this type of game. So
because the thing is, it says here, thus a game of cycles will span many turns, so infrastructure cards are crucial. Apollo exceeds Zeus if you can protect the guarded island, meaning the best course of action is literally Apollo. Not really. If you're not building anything up, you can stack your stuff there. Eventually, if somebody comes to your home, you can stuff those the currency things. I don't remember. Some things that give you money each turn. What did they call them? Remember? Exactly. But anyway, they are like Apollo. Maybe they played wrong. Apollo, when you go to Apollo, you can do nothing. You cannot even get the monsters out. You cannot even pay for the monsters. And that's where, if you are, let's say they're overpaying for that RS because they really need RS. But RS is down in the position, so whoever gets to the first god will go first. And first, let's say, is Athena. Nobody beats on Athena. You get Athena low. You start using monsters with your money. Then use the monsters. It's you have these options, and Apollo is not a strategy. You should go to Apollo sometimes to preserve money, to get these things, so you can get some investments. But Apollo doesn't give you anything else. And you have to build yourself up. You need to buy monsters. Monsters is a huge thing in this game. Yeah. Anyway, it seems like everything that they describe is something very, of course, it's very personal, that they just don't like in a game. I don't feel like it's a game's fault.
Well, and this is one of those situations, right? I mean, people will like what they like. And that's totally fine. I mean, those are valid points. But it seems like this person probably, I don't know. It's one of those. It's kind of like Twilight Struggle, right? You see that box cover, and it kind of gives you a fair assessment of what you're going to find inside. And if that box cover doesn't appeal to you, and if you turn it over and look at the back, and that doesn't appeal to you, put it back and play something else. And Cyclades also. I mean, you look at its box cover, and it promises a type of game. And look, whether it gives that type of game or a similar but slightly different type of game, it's still going to be one of those types of games, not, pushing cubes and turning blue into red, which it seems like this person might prefer.
Yeah, it definitely has some design flaws, which I would recommend playing with Hades, but Hades expansion. Or if you want to do this thing with a lot of moving, go with Wargame, go with Titans expansion. There are expansions that add to it, and there's the new version that they are prototyping right now that might come out maybe in 2 years. I don't know. But yeah, it's the same. Like, if that person you like Cyclades, don't play Kemet, because if they say king making the game, kind of a thing, then Kemet's the same. You're trying to bash the one who has the most points and take the temples away from them, whatever, the not the permanent, but the temporary points away from them.
Right.
That's the same. And Kemet is so well regarded, and both of these games are so well regarded. So yeah, it's just the game, just how the game works. Yeah. Okay, let's get away from this one and let's get
Let's get away
to
from it.
our let's get away from it and let's go to the topic of the day, which is top 10 board games with apps. And so top 10 board games with apps is about board games that use an app assistance kind of thing in a
Oh, not
smaller scale.
appetizers?
Not appetizers, no, not abs, not appetizers. Yeah, and for me, like I told you, let's do that. It's a cool theme. And then I'm like, whoops. Um, Looking through my all my played games, I don't really have that many games that use the app. Like it seems like
Oh,
I'm all analog.
okay.
I
Well,
did eventually find some. I would say the
have you played them all?
I have played them all. I was about to put one that I didn't play. Like this is on my wish list. No, I'm kidding. Uh, but yeah, I played them all. But I would say if we're going to look, my top three are the ones that I really enjoy and I love them. The other ones, the bottom ones, are the ones that I appreciate. It's not my
Mhm.
style. I wouldn't play them again. So I'm scraping the bottom,
Okay.
really scraping the bottom. And I don't even remember how the apps are used in them. So, with some of them, like, wait, there was something with the app. I'm like, okay.
So the first board game with an app, was that Golem Arcana or was something before that?
Oh, I don't know. Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was Golem Arcana first and then XCOM. Just
I think XCOM
by
was one of the first ones. I haven't
no, Golem
played.
Arcana is older than XCOM, but
Oh, maybe, yeah.
hmm,
I don't know.
anyway, just okay, it doesn't matter.
It
Yeah, I mean,
depends.
I found myself, I had to kind of stop and think about it, right? There are several board games that have apps, either required or useful. And some of them have like assisting apps that are kind of like I won't put Sentinels of the Multiverse on here, even though there is an app for it, a companion app. But I didn't put that on there because you really don't need that to play the game. That's not. I mean, that's something. It's a way to track stuff if you want to. I just
That's
sort
what
of
I did.
used.
Yeah,
Yeah. So anyway,
it's the
and
same.
this is.
Like I had like I thought that I didn't have that many games. Like okay, Dead of Winter, for example, also uses the assistant app that has the voiceover and the crossroad cards that people play with. It's really cool,
Mhm.
but it's not the essential component of the game. You don't need the app to play the game. So
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see.
yeah, let's get to number 10.
All right. My number 10 is a game that I don't know that very many people have played. It is a quirky, weird game that definitely uses an app. The app sort of runs the core of it. It's a cooperative card game called Soviet Kitchen. And I know we've talked about, at least you and I have, about Soviet Kitchen before, but in this game, you're chefs working in the Soviet Union, and people come up with an order, and everybody's playing a card from their hand into this section. And so and the card is going to, you're playing it sort of for its color and for its content. And then the app is going to use some sort of algorithm to put it all together to see how close you get to somebody's desired recipe. And so you're throwing, weird, gross things in there. And you can also make dishes that are toxic and that can cause people to die. And that's bad. That's how you lose the game. And if you make it through a certain number of rounds, then you sort of won this round and you move on to the next one. Very simple game. It almost feels like a take that game, except you're doing it cooperatively. So obviously it's not, but the app is kind of funny. It burps and farts for you, but more importantly, it's required to play, and it keeps track of sort of the color matching. Like you're trying to make something brown, and all you have is gray and orange. It'll get you how close to the right color you got there.
Mhm, mhm,
It's a
mhm.
very interesting game, very light,
Okay.
quirky, and unique, and not something that everybody has played, I'm sure, but definitely a really good game with an app.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, my number 10 is the one that I had a few problems with. I enjoyed it. It was fine. And it's one of those games where I don't know, it was some kind of a contraption that was used in the original game. And then when they have redone this game, they put all the things into the app to assist the game. That's Stop Thief. Thief, I know the original Stop Thief had some kind of a contraption or something that made
A
noises or
squawk
something like
box?
that. Or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. I never played the original, so
So, but Stop Thief uses the app in order to kind of it's a game about you trying to stop the thief. You're trying to get to the thief's location and thus collect the points or something like that. I don't remember all of the things, and it's really easy. But you get the noise clues. I think was it from the app, and
right.
it's like it
You hear a
generates these
broken
things.
window, or
Yeah,
yeah,
stuff like that. Then they're like, okay, you're trying to. Oh, he was. You could hear that sound previously, and they could not run too far away, and now it's a broken window. Okay, so I need to kind of track down where the thief went, and then I go to that place, whoever is the first. And the problem with the game was that, I mean, if you're near there, I mean, you're the first one to do that if it's obvious where it is.
yeah.
Especially that's the randomness which I didn't like. But I liked the whole idea of the noise clues, which one of the new ones, the Cosmos series, I think the Echoes, has some kind of a escape room type thing where you use the noise things. This one as well here. I
Sure.
I enjoyed this app implementation here. My number
It,
10, Stop Thief.
I agree. It's a good implementation. I didn't like you. I didn't love the game, but I thought the way that he used the app was nice.
Mhm. All right, let's get to number 9.
Number 9 is a game beloved by many and liked by me. This one is Chronicles of Crime.
Okay.
So this is a detective game. You're sort of working together with your friends to try and solve some sort of a crime, and you do so by using this app to scan certain cards. And there are points where the app will show you a room, and you'll look around and see what's in the room, and call out things, and people will pull out cards. And there's a bunch of different scenarios. There's a bunch of different versions now. There's a futuristic one, a past one. There's a lot going on in this game. There's a lot to like. I do really enjoy this game. I don't rate it higher just because sometimes I have found that I know how everything is supposed to work, but I can't. So it can be a little finicky. Like you have to get the little girl to go over here, and so then you spend a lot of time thinking, okay, all right, I know she needs to go there, but now I have to show this thing to this person in order to get that to happen. And I didn't love that part. But I do love sort of the way that the deduction works and the way that you can use the app to sort of find this story for yourself. And it's a great way to use the components and to add a lot of story and a lot of sort of behind the scenes tracking with the game through use of the app. It's a great way to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So my number 9, and by the way, I tried to put the games into my top 10 based on how much I like them. And my top 3 is, I don't know, maybe I can change the order of them anytime. It depends. So yeah, but all the other ones, I try to put it as how much I like the game, not the app implementation here.
Huh.
Um,
I did it a little differently. I kind of went by, I don't know. I just put them down in an order and then adjusted them.
then it's happened. Yeah. Okay. So my number 9 is one of the escape room games, which is Escape Tales, and it's really an assistant app in order to have there's basically the clues you're marking down the different clues and things, and you can get hints from the app as I remember correctly, and yeah, or something like that. Um, don't remember exactly how the app, but I remember that the app you could track down what you have done so far, and they were like
Hmm.
E10, C1, whatever things. And this is the game about, yeah, it's an escape room game. Really puzzly. Has his story has different endings. At least the first box, you could. I played also the low memory. It's sometimes daunting. Sometimes it doesn't work for me as an escape room game. It's not enough. It's too puzzly, and then it tries to be a story game as well, and it takes away from the story if this puzzle is too difficult. I know it's just like doesn't sometimes work for me.
Hmm.
There's another escape room game I might talk about later. So
Okay.
yeah.
I
So
wonder
this
what it
one,
could be.
hmm. Still, you should try it out. I like the first box more than the second box. The story there was a little bit weird. Like, okay, something happened, whatever.
Hmm.
Anyway,
I haven't
uh,
played this one, so I can't talk about
this
it.
one is a nice story. I liked it. I like the first one's puzzles as well.
Hmm.
So, and it's kind of a system of using the tokens to track down things, and you only have certain amount of tokens. You cannot sometimes you cannot really is you cannot really use tokens to explore all of the things in the room.
Okay.
It's not efficient.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, escape room, escape tales, the awakening, low memory, or the third one was also there.
Some creepy swamp one, I think. There's a third
Yeah, yeah,
one.
something like that.
Some creepy swamp.
Let's get to number 8.
Righty. Another one. So this one, I guess technically you could play without an app, but the app is sort of integrated into the game design. And so I count it definitely. This is a short, light, happy social deduction game called One Night Ultimate Werewolf. Based on a non-app game called One Night Werewolf. But this one, sort of the app will help keep track of what everything that's going on. It'll keep track of what roles are in there. It'll remind people to do their different things, and it really takes a lot of it takes away the need for somebody to run the game for you. In the game, there's some werewolves, there's some non-werewolves, there's a bunch of other things that come in through all of the various expansions. You're going to have a short use of powers, a short deduction phase, then everybody's going to point at somebody very quickly, and then that person's eliminated, and you see if you won or lost. It's definitely not deep game design, but it'll give you that sort of, hey, we found the traitor, or hey, we didn't find the traitor, in about 10 minutes versus playing that same game for the course of the whole evening. uh,
Yeah.
it's one you can quickly bang out a session or two and then put away and move on to something else. But it's a lot of fun, and the app is a great way to play the game. Again, not technically required, but definitely integrated into the design and sort of the ideal way to play it.
I mean, yeah. I played it a long time ago. I didn't think about that one. I don't think I would put it on the list because I I hate werewolf. I hate werewolf. Like I would rate it a -1 if I could.
I don't think you
This
can.
one, yeah. Um, this one I was fine because it's fast. It's everybody's in, dun, 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 done. I'm not sitting there for the other 2 hours waiting for the others to be killed or whatever to win, etc. So yeah, that one works for me, though. I still don't like it as much.
No.
It was like I don't
That's
know why
fine.
I rated it a 6. That's fine. 6 is fine. 2, it's
I
fine.
mean, look, it's never going to be the highlight of the night for me either, but I do enjoy it, and I think it's good app implementation.
No, I think the app is quite necessary because, I mean, the narration you must do it yourself. It's taking away if you
Yeah,
put the app down, the whole
it
thing
really
plays out.
requires somebody else to run the game if you're not going to use the app.
Yeah, so I think it's really essential, to be honest. Anyway, my number 8 is the game that uses So this is not really the app that it uses, but I put it in the same category as the apps. I think it uses the computer, the internet, but it is kind of an app in the computer. And it's the same with roll and write and flip and write. It's the same game, just different method to do it. That's detective, modern crime,
Modern
board game.
crime extravaganza or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, board game. Yeah. So yeah, you can argue this is not an app game, though. I think you can play it
I
with
won't
the.
argue that.
You can play with the phone. I think the app as well. Like, but this is like you go, like it's not the app. You go on the internet, stuff like that. Maybe there's an app as well that you use. I don't remember exactly, but this is a CSI kind of the game. Yeah, you're trying to solve the murder thing. You go into the history. You go to that special website where it tells you things, etc. You read articles. You do all of that thing. Like you are the Sherlock Holmes, kind of a thing. But it's a modern thing, and you drive around. You have your timetable, like it time can run out, etc. And you need to solve the case. Yeah, basically Seaside, the board game. Really immersive, rather long. Hurts your brain sometimes. It really feels like you are trying to do the real cases. So yeah, that's my pick for number 8. If you have any comments on that.
I mean, it's a fine game. It's a little on the long side, and by a little on the long side, I mean it's a
A
lot
lot.
on the long side.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's really going to be the kind of game where you say, "Look, team, we're playing this game today, and that's kind of all we're doing." Just because I think some of these games, there's sort of a golden median on time, and this one definitely you feel its length, which isn't a good thing. But you're right. I mean, it does use sort of this app assistance or whatever you want to call it, but and it's fine. It's
It is an
enjoyable.
app
Not
assistance in
really
a
for me.
sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that long that you like. Okay, guys, take your toothbrushes with you. It's gonna be a long week. So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. That's why I don't own it anymore because
Yeah.
it's just too much. Let's get to number 7.
Alrighty, number 7. Number 7 is a game that's almost more app than game. Uh, it's definitely on the tech heavy side, but it's a very interesting use of technology in a game. The game is called Beasts of Balance,
Oh, yeah.
and so in Beasts of Balance, you are using an app, and then you also have these physical components. You have a scale. It's a plinth is what it's called, and then you're going to be scanning these beasts or other pieces and stacking them on this object, and then as you do so, they're going to appear in the app and have some kind of integration. For example, you can use you can put a bear into the world, and then you can cross the bear with an octopus, and by using a piece, and then it'll move. It'll be some sort of bear octopus hybrid, and you're trying to keep these animals alive as long as possible. You're feeding them. You're moving them from the air to the land to the sea, and you're trying to get as many points as possible. It's really a one-player game. I mean, you can play with more people, but then it's just everybody taking turns doing the same thing. It's really a game for just you, and you're going to try and manipulate these components and get the app to do things. It's a very interesting use of technology. I'm amazed that it works as well as it does, but it's almost more of a video game than a board game at this point. But I really do like it, and I think it definitely belongs on the list because you certainly can't play it without that app. And the
Yeah.
pieces are cute and fun also.
It's like an activity in a sense that there's no real game. Just it's a stacking game kinda. You stack things in order to crossbreed them, so you can find a new, bear octopus or broctopus or something like that, and etc. And breed the crocodile with giraffe, and then
I don't think there's a
becomes a really
crocodile or
long.
a giraffe in the game.
I don't know, but I
But
mean, like really long neck crocodile. That'd be quite fun.
yeah, I mean, it's there's a game in that you're trying to score points on this app, right? I mean, you're beating your high score, but it's more of a video game type of an experience than a physical game, although you are manipulating components in the physical world.
All right. So my number 7 is the game that uses the app. You must use the app because it gives you kind of a hints on where the right colors or crystals, whatever they were, are. It's a cooperative game called Rising 5.
Hmm.
It was introduced to me by Sam Healy.
Okay.
And I don't remember much about the game. I remember it being cooperative. You go around, collect stuff, and then you're trying to collect stuff and put it in the right order in the central circle, something like in the ruins, something like that. And the app will guide you through that based on
Yeah,
the colors. So it's I don't know. I don't know how
it
to
runs the
describe the
code
game.
for you, really, right? You're trying to find this code, and the app will help you. It will
Yeah,
essentially run that aspect of it for you.
yeah, it has the code. Yeah, it generates this kind of a the winning condition type of thing. Everything else, it's your usual run around, collect stuff, and try to figure out this central code. It's Vincent Dutray artwork. It looks really cool. I like the cooperative nature on that. I need to play it again, in my opinion. I kind of liked it,
Yeah,
and
it's
it
fine.
seems to be really fast.
Yeah, it's very short.
So yeah, that's something. The production is great. Anyway, Rising 5, Runes of Asteros.
Yeah, that's a stupid subtitle. But yes.
Let it be. Let it go. Let it go, man. All right, let's get to number 6.
All right, my number 6. My number 6 is a game that is a second edition of another game and is vastly superior to that game. The game is Mansions of Madness. In the original Mansions of Madness, you were, I guess, second edition, right? In the first version, one person was running this story, and the other people were sort of working against that. So sort of like a dungeon master type role, and everybody else was running around trying to solve some mystery and have some sort of adventure. The problem is, if you made, as the dungeon master player, whatever you want to call it, uh, if you made the slightest mistake setting up 30 different piles of cards in a bunch of different locations, it would ruin the game experience, right? And you wouldn't find that out until you've been playing for an hour or two, and then it would be very difficult to come back to it and fix it. The new version takes that role away, and everybody's playing cooperatively. And this app is going to run you through the story. It'll give you the story. It'll narrate some parts of it for you. It will tell you, what monster appears. You'll use it to run the combat, so that you roll the dice, and then you'll enter how many hits you got, and it'll tell you how well you did. You use it to sort of there are puzzles that show up, and it will present the puzzle on the app screen, and then you manipulate the app, and you solve it or you don't. It really takes all of the administration away from the game, which was not the best part of the game anyway. And instead, it allows you to experience the story with your friends or by yourself, and do so in a way that does not require involvement from a human opponent. It allows everybody to be involved without relying on somebody's skill and attention to detail to have an experience. So it's vastly better than the original, and a great way to use an app and really enhance the board game experience.
Yeah, yeah. I've not played that one. That's something I would love to try at some point
You'll
in my
probably enjoy
life.
it.
True. My number 6 is the game that I would say it uses the app as an assistant. I don't remember if it was necessary and you can use something else instead of that. And that's Bump Squad. I'm not sure if it was um yeah,
Oh.
essential, but the app that you download, it has the clock ticking, and this is the game about you trying to defuse the bombs and rescue the hostages, and you are kind of a you are using this robot who goes into these locations, offices, whatever they are, and there are all the different scenarios that you can go through, and you are using the if you played Robo Rally, you're using that kind of a programming, and you're programming the robots, but you're doing this face down. You're trying to kind of cooperate with each other. It has this kind of a Hanabi feel, meets Robo Rally kind of a thing going on there. You need to put things in the right order, try to communicate with each other so the robot does not go into the corner and then turns around and is against the wall and the hostages are all dead now. Yeah, I really enjoyed this part of programming and things. And you need to program them in the right way because there are like this yellow and blue and red ones. First, you need to go to that one, then you need to go to that one because then you can open the door to that one, etc. You need to program it in the right way. You cannot just go and rescue whatever you want, you know. And the app gives you the ambience and gives you um, the clock, which is ticking. And I don't remember much else if it's
Hmm.
giving you anything. Yeah, I just remember you could play
Okay.
with the app.
Yeah, I don't remember an app in the game. I'm not sure. Well, but maybe I haven't played it forever, so
I mean,
who
you
knows?
probably might I think you probably can. It's the official app for Bomb Squad. You probably
Okay.
can maybe replace it with just a timer or something like that, but it gives you the ambience and then the bomb goes off.
Okay.
But whatever, it's just fun, you know. If you have
Hmm.
like just download the app, it's a special timer. It's much better
Okay.
with that one. And it
All
probably
right.
knows that I think you can kind of choose the mission from there, so it already is set up to a certain time, etc. So
Hmm.
it's
Okay.
app assistant. Yeah, let's get to number 5.
All right. My number five, I
Oops.
talked to. Oh,
Yeah, it's okay.
my number five, I talked about earlier today. This is Oathsworn. So I did not mention the app in my initial description, but that first story phase can be played through this app. Look, you can do it through a book. There's like 3 books you can go back and forth between if you really want to. But But what the app does is it runs everything for you. It tells you, it reads the story for you. It tells you when, it gives you all the choices, and then you select it and it takes you to the right place and it moves you on. So you're really playing with the app. I
Wait,
looked
what's
at the
that?
storybooks, Oathsworn. Mhm.
Oh, I didn't hear you say
Oathsworn.
that.
I apologize. Well,
No,
if
that's
I
fine.
didn't,
Maybe
it's
maybe you
Oathsworn.
did.
So yeah, I mean there are 3 books, and especially for one part of the game, those books are really quite obnoxious because you're kind of like flipping back and forth to put out tiles on the board and get the right positions. So the app is a far superior way to play this game and was clearly integrated in the design. That I don't know if you'll see the app here, but
Yeah,
the app
there's
is
no app
not
here.
used in the combat phase at all. The combat is entirely on your table, but the story phase, which is usually actually quite interesting, is going to be run almost exclusively through the app, unless you decide you want to mess with the storybooks. But I think it's a fantastic implementation and a great way to do it. It keeps track of everything for you very nicely, and remembers the things that you would likely forget, and gives you all of the options of the sort of choose your own adventure nature of that story in a very easy to handle format.
Yeah. All right. Um, my number 5 is a game about pirates.
Arr.
But not the one you might think of. It's a real-time cooperative game called A Tale of Pirates.
Okay.
Yeah. This one has this feature of real time and using the sand timers.
I have not played this one. I've
and
seen
you're
it
using
before.
the
You've talked about
sand
it.
timers to do the various actions, kind of like in Kitchen Rush as well. You're using the different actions, and while like I don't remember if you really need to turn it over before. I think when the time runs out, then you need to turn it over. Whatever. I don't remember exactly everything, but you're trying to survive and sink the other ships and blah blah blah. Yeah, it's the app is basically the assistance and gives you some narrative, some story, and it also gives you some random events sometimes. You really need to play with the app. I think you cannot skip the app here. You can see there. So and you kind of score things and etc. And it just a really cool um cooperative real time kind of adventure type thing. You go through missions, they become even harder as you go through it. It's light in a sense. Yeah, I don't remember everything about the game, but I remember the app being a cool part of the game.
Neither do I because I haven't played
Yeah,
it.
maybe you should. Yeah, there's the backstory kind of thing.
Mhm.
It gives you all of that things, and
Okay.
I really like the event pops up eventually, like oh something in the sea, and you need to deal with that. So I like that thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you hear me now?
I do hear you now. It's a different sound, but I hear you now.
Is it a different sound?
Yeah, it's sort of a more mooted sound.
Something happened. That's fine.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Well,
I see. I see. Do you hear me now?
that's much better. We're back.
You're back. Yes, something happened with my setting. Anyway, let's get to number 4.
All right.
And I hear
My
you.
number 4. My number 4 is a game. So we talked about Chronicles of Crime earlier, and this is sort of it's not a second edition, but it re-implements some of the things that were taken from Chronicles of Crime and does so in a different way, definitely a different game. But the game is called Destinies,
Yeah.
and you haven't played this, but you probably would enjoy it. So in Destinies, you're one of a handful of characters, and you're going through a story, and you have a couple of objectives, and you want to do one of your 2 objectives, and the app is going to sort of guide you through the way that the game works, right? You're going to use it. It'll set up the board for you. It will run certain tests for you. It'll scan the cards when you want to use them and tell you what happens. And it will kind of do the narration and it will give you the story of what's happening. And then, you're paying attention as you're going through to what other people are doing because, well, you might want a particular item that they have because you need that. And so, you'll watch and pay attention to what's going on. The app will run all of the interactions. And then eventually when you have all of the things you need, it will also run that end game period for you, where you're trying to go through a certain sequence of events to try and achieve your destiny. That's how you play with multiple players, but there's also a great solo way to play, which is almost like Time Stories, where you're going to play through and you have a limited number of time, limited amount of time, and then it's over and you lose. And so then you'll try it again, and you'll try and be more efficient because now you know where things are. So you're kind of discovering the world as you go, and then you try and win it that way. So there's a couple of ways to play the game by yourself or with others. It's a great way to use an app, a great game that's really quite enjoyable and well produced, and there's a lot of content in it. So I definitely really enjoy it.
Yeah, something on my wish list. That is.
Okay.
My number 4 is a heavier game that was also one of the earlier games that used the app, and you like technically there was a rule that you could play it without the app, but then that person would have to be there for 3 hours just watching you having fun. uh, and just
I think
and
I
then
know which
waking
game this is.
yeah, and then waking up to do some small things, and that's alchemists.
Yeah.
So yeah, alchemists. No, you do not need that extra person to guide you through the game because it's painfully long for that person, especially. Um, and the game is a heavy worker placement deduction game where there's a lot of game beside the deduction, but all you're trying to do, you're trying to find. You have this grid, if I can find it somewhere, but you're trying to combine elements in order to find or combine the these shrooms and I don't know what the other vegetables and stuff in order to find what elements they are, or are they a plus or minus, etc. And you have this huge screen with things, and then you put the things down there and write the things down in order to understand. So, oh, you cross that out, so you got this information. And how you use the app, you scan the two cards when they are up in front of you. I don't know if I could find the anything that could relate to that. Yeah.
You won't be
Anyway, you have like two cards in front of you. I mean, there's no phone picture. You find those cards. You put it in the app. Basically, like you make a photo or something like that out of these two cards, and it kind of catches what they are and gives you some information of what element it might be or something like that, or it's not that one or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but the app is used in order to deduce all the stuff about the elements, and eventually, yeah, you're trying to figure out what are the elemental groups that are here. Like it's a small minus green, small plus red, and the big plus blue, whatever, right? And etc. You can get out your theories. I tell you, there's a lot of game going on besides that, but this is a fun experience with that app and things, and how the app recognizes not few QR code, just a pure picture. How it recognizes such stuff, and you can see that here. Yeah.
Oh.
So you're scanning, and then it realizes that these are these cards, and then based on the picture, and then gives you a clue.
Yeah.
Like that. Really much.
Yeah, so I like alchemists. I have a couple of problems with the game, of course. The deduction is not particularly intuitive, right? It definitely requires some time to teach how all of that works, and it's very important to understand how it works in order to play the game. So that's why. I mean, look, the app is a fantastic use of the app, and it's a great way to do it because it enables you to have this sort of exploratory experience without, as you said, needing somebody just to kind of wake up when it's time to process a deduction. The other thing I don't love about the game is that the actual game itself, other than the deduction, isn't all that great. I kind of think, well, if this were just the deduction, I would think it was fantastic. But then there's all this, okay, I published this paper first, I get points. But if you disprove it, you get a point. And I understand, right? That's there, and that's sort of part of the design. I just don't know that I like that part as much as I like the deduction. And so, well, but the app implementation is definitely excellent.
Okay. Yeah, true. All right, let's get to the top 3.
All right.
Nice. Now we're going to talk about some games I like. Kidding.
All right. My number 3 is a newer game. It is a game I have talked about in other channels, or sorry, on Wednesday Whimsy. The game is a reworking of an old game from the 80s that I never owned. The game is called Return to Dark Tower.
Mm-hmm.
So in Dark Tower, you have some components. There is an enormous tower that's on the table. And then there's an app that you're using to play the game, and the app is going to communicate with the tower and cause it to spin and rotate and light up at different points in the game. And it will tell you, okay, right, remove this wall, and then that will cause these skulls to kind of come out and populate the board, and that's a bad thing. It will tell you when the year ends, and you don't know, right? Because you don't know, because the app sort of has a range, you won't necessarily know right away how many turns you have. And so the app kind of keeps that sense of mystery going for you. You'll use it to run any of the combat, which is a really interesting thing, right? Because there's these cards that are being drawn, but especially for the final combat, you can improve the cards for you by spending this currency called advantage. So by doing so, you can make eventually so that it's possible to defeat the big bad more easily, because you're going to improve these cards as you go along. And sort of a small, subtle thing is, in order to end the turn, you have to physically pick up one of these skulls and drop it in the tower. And the app recognizes that, and that's how you move on to the next turn. There's no other way to do so, so it helps you remember to follow that rule. Look, the game's not perfect. There's a huge tower blocking your way, and so I had to buy a Lazy Susan for this game. But it's a great way to use an app. It really is integrated into the design. You use it while playing, but you still feel like you're playing the actual board game, because you're moving around, drawing cards, and using the physical features of the board as well. It's just a great way to do it, and a fun way to experience this game, especially at a lower player count.
Yeah, I have not played this one. This is something on my wish list to try out at least.
It's small and compact.
Sure it is. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, my number 3 is the one that you already mentioned before, a crossover. I thought it would be higher on your list because as you said, you put them on your list, not in the order how much you like these games. And I put it that way, but I also really enjoy how the app is implemented into this one. But probably, yeah, I do understand why it's lower. Okay, now I understand. Okay. Anyway, that's Chronicles of Crime. I think like you kind of put this one on lower on the list because you have Destinies there. Yeah.
Which I like more. Yeah. I would prefer Destinies over Chronicles any day. But
anyway, I don't want to talk about it too much, but yeah, I love this kind of this is also Seaside, the board game, but this is something like when I had Chronicles of Crime, I had Detective, I had both of them, and I played that one. I'm like, okay, so Chronicles of Crime is superior to Detective because it still takes time. It's 1.5 hours per scenario, but it's still less, and it's all about the app. Sometimes you get tired of that scanning and thing. It's a little bit of a nuisance, just a bit towards the end of the scenario. But how the app recognizes stuff, like for example, you go somewhere, you ask that person about this clue, they say I know nothing. Then you go to that other person, you discover that they know something about that thing, and then they confess, and they're like, you're going back to that first person, and then you ask again, they're like, oh yeah, to be honest, yeah, now I remember. It's like it's a smart app. It guides the whole game, and the virtual reality kind of these goggles that you have that you can look into, or you can use without them and just look around with your phone. The 3D scenery, virtual reality scenery scene of murder, etc. This is also really cool thing. Like this is one of the highlights. Like I always say. The first thing, like, just look at that. Everybody's like, ooh, oh, I can look down, I can look up, I can look behind myself.
Pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's an extra to this app, which is not the main thing why you use the app.
But it also is.
A lot of fun. Yeah. Chronicles of Crime does something with the app that nobody else does, and then Destinies is basically the product of Chronicles of Crimes. I don't think we had many games. Probably there is something, but I haven't heard of a game that uses the same system of scan things all the time.
There's a new one.
Not Hero
Flix, but it's
not
from
Hero
the
Flix.
same company.
Oh, yeah. I mean, same company, but somebody else, completely somebody else, because it's really hard to make. Yeah. And by the way, there are a ton of expansions which are standalone, like 1900s. Then the Middle Ages, then the future, then the one that combines all three into one huge thing. There's so much stuff, so many scenarios. And I got the Kickstarter copy with Kickstarter scenarios. You can buy extra scenarios in the app itself. You have Red View, you have Noir. Like, don't think about that. You play through the scenario and then you don't have enough content. There's so much content. Yeah, you have to pay extra, you have to buy extra, but there's a ton of content for this game. You're going to play it for a long time. Yeah.
Sure.
Let's get to number 2.
All right. My number 2 is the newest game on the list. I guess, I don't know. This one was also pretty new. But this is a game I've been really loving lately, and it's a game that has fantastic use of the app. The app is still in need of a tiny bit of development, but it's a great. It still works really well. And the game is My Father's Work. The game will use the app to take you through this story, and it will, it'll keep track. So the app is going to tell you the story. It's going to cause the events to occur. It's going to remind you of things in the game, and occasionally there are moments where you will. Somebody will unlock something secret. The example that I always use is there's an old castle on the hill, and you go up, and there's a man named Dracula, and he will say, I have a secret for you. And so you pass the device to somebody, and the secret is that he's a vampire. There's more secrets than that. We should have put a spoiler warning in that. Anyway, so that it will give you sort of choices that only you are seeing, and it will remember sort of, okay, player A did this and player B did not do this. And then later on in the game, in a new generation, the ramifications of those choices will be remembered by the app and will come to fruition. It is everything that Martians, the First Builders, or whatever, the Portal Games one, that was sort of the Robinson Crusoe remake. This it wanted to be that, but this one does it right. It uses an app that's easy to use, and has a lot of story that's mixed in, and also those sort of events that come back to bite you or benefit you later. Really well done. The story's great, and the one thing I'll say about the game, it's 3 hours, but you don't notice them, and I guess that's sort of the highest compliment I can give to it.
Okay.
There's a ton of story, though. It's like somebody crammed 4 novels in between each turn. But the game looks great, and the app is key to it, and it's really well done.
Yeah, it's War and Peace in a board game.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's something I want to try. There's something that's on my wish list. It looks cool. It sounds cool. It seems to be cool. Cool. My number 2 is also a cool game that uses the app in so many different ways that I mean, like, they always try to find something new how to use the app, and I'm talking about the Unlock series. It's an escape room game, but this one has the app is the heart of the game. Yeah, you have cards, you combine the cards, but the app basically it's hints, it's the timer, but there are those mechanisms and special things. Sometimes I've done so many things with my phone that I wouldn't imagine I should have done. It's in a board game, especially in a board game format. But you are using the app in order to kind of get the ambience going, get the hints mostly. But yeah, with the later expansions or scenarios, you had this extra things going on with the app that they try to do. Of course, the whole game is about the cards. You combine the cards. You combine red with blue. You get the new number. You combine numbers. You get to that. Sometimes it's wrong. Sometimes it's right. Sometimes you need to get the code. It's an escape room game, but it's adventurous escape room game. It's not like you just, I'm locked in here, so now I have 1 hour to escape this. They are really adventurous. You can have pirate themes, zombie themes, movie themes, noir themes, whatever. Like, and you're running around things. Like usually, it's not like you're in one location locked. You have this clown things like, and yeah, there's so many different scenarios. The dinosaurs, whatever, pick your stuff. I think it's like at least 10 boxes of or 11 boxes of unlock.
There are a lot of scenarios.
Yeah, and then it's 3 scenarios in each box. So yeah, I like how the app is implemented. Especially, I cannot spoil, but there are really cool things that the app does.
Okay.
I mean, no. All right. So a tiny spoiler. Like spoilers. You can, yeah. Don't listen if you don't want to know. But it's a tiny spoiler. You won't even understand where it's from.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, the cool part was I could understand how to use one thing in the app. I realized I had to blow into my phone in order for it to activate. That's it. Not going to spoil anymore. And yeah,
I think I've played that one. Mm-hmm.
That was weird for me. I'm like, what is happening? How do I do that? I'm like, do I really do that? It's stupid. I would like, why? And then I just out of the blue, I'm crazy. Let's just do that, and it works. Like everybody's looking around, like, what?
That's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, unlock series. Whatever.
Yeah, it's a good series. I've kind of gotten over this type of thing, but occasionally I do come back to these. So it is a good implementation of an app, and it's a good series.
It's something that Exit doesn't have. This kind of adventurous kind of a feel. With Exit had really cool puzzles at the beginning, and sometimes they are not so good. And Unlock also has some bad scenarios and good scenarios, but Unlock is more consistent with their things and more colorful, more approachable, etc. Exit is like,
and they have an app.
Exit has an app, yeah, sure, whatever.
Well, Exit doesn't. I mean, this one does.
Exit has an app. It's a Cosmos app and Helper app. You can use.
Oh, that's just a timer.
Ambience and timer and things, yeah, stuff like that. But overall, like Exit, I don't like Exit anymore, and Unlock is still out there.
Okay, there you go.
And finally, number 1.
All right, my number 1, the first one I thought of, just a fantastic app and a great game, and the two work together so wonderfully well.
Wait for it. Does it start with F?
It does start with F.
The other starts. The other word starts with W. Okay, yeah.
Yes, it does. And I suspect it would probably be on your list as well. But the game, of course, is Forgotten Waters.
Yeah.
Unless something's gone totally wrong. So Forgotten Waters I remember when I got it, right? I remember when it just came out, and it was so exciting because it was, first of all, I remember it arriving and it said, 3 to 7 players. And I was like, oh no, because it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I was like, how can I ever play it? But hey, there was some solo rules right there. And so I was able to sort of start experiencing it. And it's been supported, right? You can download an extra scenario. The app will run your story for you. It's got great writing and great narration and voice acting. And it'll run it in such a way that you can play the same scenario. And although sort of the conclusion of the scenario is going to be the same, but the experiences you're going to have and the stories you're going to experience along the way are going to be different, which will help you to have a different experience, even, playing the same scenario more than once. It's not one that you have to download. You can just sort of go online and play it on their web app. They use the same system for Familiar Tales, but I definitely prefer Forgotten Waters to Familiar Tales. It's just a lot of fun, and it's a perfect integration where you're using both the app and the physical components, and you don't feel like you're playing a video game. And and I just really like this one.
Yeah, maybe you've seen on the screen that I put down. It's also my number one. So yeah, fantastic game. Recently, when I discovered this one for myself, I mean, like not discovered, I knew about this game, but
somebody might have told you about it before.
Yeah, I knew about this game a long time ago. I mean, because it's a Crossroads game, so I was interested after the Dead of Winter. It's been a long time since there's another Crossroads game. It really does well. So the app helps you with that Crossroads system without the need of an actual deck. It's light in a sense that, you know, I would teach it the way, like, look, there are some symbols and things. These are like things you need to go as a group. These are things we need to go, like one of us needs to go there. That's it. Let's start the game. Just put your characters down. Let's see what happens. And then you do that, and you go through that. You know, you don't need to explain the game. And this management of, and you don't really, this management, oh, you need to be the first aid and you need to be this one. There are some things that maybe kind of deal with that in a sense, but it's so minor that distributing those roles is not really relevant. There is some few. Really there were a few things like the app says the first mate needs to do something. Yeah, it's just, but it's usually you do something, but I remember it's kind of a. I don't know.
There are various tracking things, right? I mean, it's the app sort of splits up the administration among the players so that you're responsible for maintaining the number of cannons, and you're responsible for this dial. But you could ignore that. Yeah. I mean, you could just whoever. It doesn't matter. It's just sort of splitting up the bookkeeping.
Yeah, but there were a few things in scenario where Crossroad card where it says specifically like the first mate or something like that. There were very few. You could just say, okay, you're the first mate, whatever, during the game. So yeah, fantastic game, a lot of fun, really long, and you can play it in two. But you can play it in two parts, and this is where we played in two parts because we just didn't have time to finish.
Sure.
But yeah, this one, I don't know. It's just an adventure in a box, and the same as you said. You said with My Father's Work, where you play it, you don't even realize it's 3 hours. This one as well. You just go through all of that. You don't realize that you spent like 3 or 4 hours on that scenario. It just goes and goes and goes. Yeah, beautiful.
Then you look and your day's all done. But yeah, no, that's a great
all
game.
Night long. Okay, so yeah, that was the top 10 board games with apps. So let's get back to the screen over here. And there's not much to say. If you watch it, leave in a comment below what's your favorite game with the app.
Yeah, and thanks. It looks like Jasper for watching us. I don't know if anyone else has. Looks like we have 3 viewers. I don't know who they are. But thanks anybody who's watching live or later.
Yeah, thank you. And shout out to Jasper as well. I see now. Yeah. While managing the stream, Kyle is responsible for the comments.
Oh, yeah. Oops.
Whoops.
Oh, well.
That's fine. That's fine. Anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you another time.
All right.
And don't forget Wednesday Whimsy on Wednesdays.
I won't.
Shocking. No, not you, the audience. And you too, yes. And Würfelcast every other week.
Sounds good. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.